Welcome to Collector's Corner, the premier digital art platform.
We help collectors gain and maintain their edge, all while appreciating beautiful art.
Let's jump in.
Okay, everybody, let's go ahead and get started. So I just wanted to quickly introduce to folks who may not know, we have Lionel here. He's
Hi.
a fantastic French generative artist. Hello, also known as Makio135. How are you today?
Great. Finally, I'm very excited to be here. Finally releasing Shapes, which is a project that we've been working on for some months now, and finally arriving at its release and in a full form. So really excited to share it tonight.
Yeah, and we're honored to have you here and excited for you to tell us more about it. So where do you want to start? I think it'd be great to hear a little background about the project and how it's different.
Yeah, sure. Or even if I need to introduce myself in a few sentences. I've been doing generative art for the past 10 years, but I was also working as a creative coder, data scientist, and working as well as an educator in a fab lab. So most of my work was centered around technologies and working with code to prototype any kind of things. But my side passion, what I was doing by night, has always been generative art. And a bit more than 2 years ago, I jumped in the NFT train, and just to understand the space and just to understand the technology. And I met a huge community and went a full-time artist in last December, exactly a year ago. And I worked with Clement. I know him for like 10 years also. And we had done many different projects, but data visualization or journalism. And a few years later, Clement was now working as a Solidity developer for Unlock Protocol. And so we had the idea to just work again together around a project, which was Slashes. So the idea was to create an in-chain generative art project. I mean, by in-chain, I mean a project where the smart contract outputs a visual as an SVG file along its metadata. And it started like that, but it was supposed to be just a simple project that wouldn't even mint out. And in the end, it minted out in 20 minutes. It was like a storm for us because we hadn't seen that coming, and we were not prepared for that. We had no idea what to do after that. And a few months later, here we are with an upgrade for this project, which is Shapes. And so we are still working on our own website, on our own smart contracts, and to create different dynamics around the tokens that are produced by the contracts, and with the idea for this project to have multiple generators. By that I mean that if you are going to the Makio135.com/shapes, you'll be able to see 4 different generators that are all governed by the same smart contracts. And so the idea is to have a project that is centered around exploration of the generators as well as curation. Oh, I see that Clement is here as well.
Yeah, and can I ask you a quick
Yeah,
question?
sure.
Uh, this is super interesting from the technical standpoint. Can you describe when you say in chain,
Uh,
how is that different from on chain, and how is that different from how a lot of the generative art that we currently experience is stored? Maybe you can explain to folks what the nuances are, because I know this comes up a lot, and I think it's very
yeah,
interesting.
sure. By in-chain, the difference between on-chain or in-chain, uh, right here on this project, which is in-chain, I mean that the smart contracts, so the we are using the Ethereum virtual machine to run a contract, a program that is going to generate in-chain, which means the Ethereum virtual machine is going to run, and we created a pseudo random generator number generator um, that is run in the contract to produce to output the files, the SVG files, which is the visual, um, directly from the machine. So the result is not then run into your browser to execute the parameters. It is going to be directly from the smart contracts that you are having the results.
Got it, got it. And a lot of not to say anything is better or worse than the other,
No,
but
yeah.
some of the other art that you see, I know some of them, the files are stored on IPFS
Mm-mm.
or other places, and the blockchain sort of points to that file. Is there a difference where something is on chain but not in chain, not generated by the virtual machine?
Well,
Is that a nuance?
so well, the reason I wouldn't say that there is something that is better than another. Actually, at first, it was more like a creative coding challenge to use the EVM, which is a giant machine, to create visuals. And we met a lot of technical limits by using Solidity and using EVM to run our programs, like the gas for one. But the size of the contract as well. You don't have floats. Well, we had to do a lot of different things, a lot to develop a lot of different techniques to achieve these results and still be focused on interesting visual outputs. So it was quite a challenge.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, this is super interesting. And then you do you think that's part of why there was such a strong reaction to slashes? Just the technical nature of what you're doing here and the challenges you have to overcome?
Yeah, I think this was really the interesting part of the project, which was to have the visual generated on chain, in chain. But with shapes, we are pushing the dynamics of the project to have tokens that can be regenerated as many times as the owner want, so that they are able to curate their tokens by regenerating them using either the same generator or using a different generator. But as well, they can revert to a previous seed if they want to. Every seed that is generated by a user is stored in the token, so they can revert to it and curate the shapes that they want to, the visuals that they want to keep. We are also by doing this, owner will also be able to curate the wall shape of the collection. I mean that we have 4 different generators. So that means that we could choose a generator that is less used than another because it is rarer, or we can go to a generator that is really liked by most people and shape. So the distribution of the token will be shaped by the owners. Maybe Clement wants to add a word on that part.
Yeah, and maybe I can ask just a clarifying question, and Clement would love to hear. So, when somebody mints a token for shapes, and I know there's more than one way to get it,
Yeah.
but let's just say
Mm-hmm.
somebody mints the token, then they get to choose which one of the four generators to utilize that token on, and based on that, the image will be a little bit different, and at any time they can go and change it to a different generator
Yeah.
or run the same generator again, but they get a different randomized seed, so the image
Yeah.
changes. Is that correct?
Yeah, totally. I'd say even more than a little bit different from a generator to another. They are completely different. But yes, this is it. You can mint a token, and when you are minting, you are choosing which generator you want to use for your first visual.
And you can go back to any of the previous versions that you have generated
Yeah,
before.
sure. Yeah. Um, we wanted to really have it on the exploration of the generators. So once you have minted a token, you have your visual, but you can regenerate using a new generator or the same one to get a new visual until you find something that you really love. Because I think this was something that was posing a problem for me on many generative art projects, which is a bit like a lottery. I mean, you are minting a token, and then this is yours, and it's like that. You can change it, or well, you can sell it, or you can buy another. Here, the idea was to be able to change again the token, your token, and then be able to revert to a previous seed that you found, which are unique. Every time someone is changing a token, the intern seed for the contract is changing, so that no one can have the same, and everyone is going to hunt different seed and be able to revert to them.
And what happens in January? There's sort of like is
Yeah,
there a date at which they all get locked in?
yeah. Um, we we wanted to give a specific time for the owner to focus on the project. If it was just an open project forever, I think that the dynamic would just wave in the time. So we gave a 2-month window for the owner to explore and curate the collection. And on January 31st, the collection will freeze. I mean, every token will freeze, and they won't be able to change. Of course, they will be able. You will be able to sell your token and transfer them as usual, but the exploration and curation part will stop at that time. So the idea is really to have a specific amount of time, which is 2 months, to do this exploration. We are not asking for your time on your whole life for this project.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's super interesting is if you go to the website right now, some of them have already been created. So maybe you can talk about how you can utilize one of your slashes, or
Yeah.
and I can't remember all the other NFTs, and when the mint might be as well for those who just want to buy it without trading one in.
Yeah, sure. As you said, there are different ways to get into shapes. So the first one, the classic way to enter shapes is by minting a token, which is already open right now. And the previous way was by upgrading a slash token. I mean, if you are buying a slash token on OpenSea, you can connect to the Shapes website, and you'll see a dedicated section to your slashes token, and you will be able to upgrade them. Maybe on the technical side of the upgrade, we should have Clement to detail the different steps. But the idea is to allow the Shapes contract to manage your token. The Shapes contract is going to take your slashes token, create a new Shapes token, and send it to you, and then it will burn the slashes token. So these are the two different ways to enter shapes, either by upgrading a slashes or by minting a new shapes.
Yeah, fantastic. I'd love to hear about the technical side, Clement. And for everyone listening, if you go on the website, you can see what some of these different outputs look like. And I think it shows essentially which generator that shape came from,
Yeah.
whether it was the slashes or the arcs or the stencil, etc.
Yeah, sure. Like there is right now a lot of slashes V2 are on the website right now, because we allowed the upgrade a few months ago from slashes to shapes, but we released the different generators and the last one today.
Fantastic. Yeah, Clement, I'd love to hear a little bit more about the technical side. Anything that you think is interesting and useful for us to hear about.
Yeah, hi everyone. Maybe just one thing about the generators. What Leona was just mentioning is that so we have, I don't know, roughly like 200, 300 tokens right now, and then the first batch is mostly slashes V2. But if you go down there, if you load more and more tokens, you get more variety as the time grows, because the first that were minted and swapped were just slashes V2, and then now we have grids, arcs, and stencils with which are the four different contracts. So yeah, I don't know. On the technical side, I have to say it was quite some work, because they're like so we did everything from scratch. So the contracts, and then so there are like 5 contracts. There are 1 NFT contracts and 4 SVG generators. And then the website, which has a server, dedicated server, and a user interface. So there were a bunch of development into that. And actually, we work with another friend that is not there. We're also on some design. And they are. I don't know. I think there's. I don't have much. How to say. I have a bit the head into it. I've been working on it recently, but I don't know what is really interesting inside. But I think there's it's quite. We couldn't do such a project on any of the existing platforms, because I think the main idea is we put the curation in the hands of the token holders. So like for 2 months, you can either swap a slash, or you can get a token minted or use an existing one slash, and then you can just create how the token will be. And the goal is to have an array of with a variety of tokens, a variety of different shapes, and that will be the final piece. I would say the piece is more. In my mind, at least, and when we discuss it with Lionel, is more like to have one big collection with some variety of, either collection variety of shades, but actually of course palettes and all the variety that Lionel brings with the artwork. So yeah, and so on the technical side, we had to make it possible. So we had to develop everything from scratch, really, because it's just so the website, even the interface, to make sure like people can swap their slashes, and then that was the first step we created back before summer, I think. And then we worked on a very nice interface so people can change. Everyone can change easily. Once they have a token, they can just change the shape, try things. I think it's quite good. I mean, gas is low right now, so like I tried, and it's interesting. And then you can revert to a previous version, and everything will be locked in like 2 months, and then we have the final piece with all the tokens that have been minted. So yeah, that's why. In terms of really technical developments, I would say all the UI and the server, but so it's some work, but the contract level is was kind of challenging because first, all the SVGs, of course, because Lionel has, is using lots of techniques and SVG techniques to improve, graphics, and then we have to make sure that it was supported, and we could actually manage it with Solidity and Ethereum virtual machine. And yes,
I'm a dope when it comes to the technical stuff. I'm just more of a lover of the art. But if I can try to summarize it, is the way I'm hearing it, and please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm almost going to guarantee that I'm going to say something wrong. But it feels like there's the user ability to create and generate an output. Would that be similar to like a QQL dynamic where you can save whatever it is you want in that sense? And then you guys have a cutoff period, which is a dynamic that I really, really like because it forces not only involvement into the algorithm, but then a decision point. But you're still giving and really gifting your algorithm to the masses and allowing the output to be randomized, but yet still user selected. Is that all a fair statement?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I think so. We provide a random generator. 4 different random generators, and then people can pick either one. You can even regenerate. It's like you can pick, for instance, arcs or stencils or grids, and then if you're not satisfied with your grids, then you can regenerate a new grid. And then like that, once you can make, you can make a bunch, and then you can pick the one you really like, and then just settle for that one. So and by default, and when I say celebrate that on that one, it means that on the Ethereum blockchain, after that, the NFT will be this one, only this one after, So the previous one are like attempts, you can try, and then you just leave it like that, and in 2 months it's just forever will be this one.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody who's listening who hasn't gone into the website and played around, it's a pretty intriguing outputs, at least from my perspective. I have to say right off the bat, the grids are my favorite. It reminds me of like the Horo, I'll call it coloration, but this really, I'll call it new layout for the color blocking that it hits really, really, I'll call it brilliantly based on all the different directionality of textures and shapes that you're using. It's a very cool presentation.
I really like the stencil ones.
Yeah.
I'm looking at these. The stencil ones look super cool. Like number 247 looks crazy. Oh no, sorry, that's a grid. But yeah, the both the stencils and the grid, I think they are more different than the shapes, pun intended, compared to like some of your prior work, like Horo and Slashes, etc. Yeah, these are fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, I had to develop a lot of different tricks, and I really wanted to have very different visuals for the different generator, while still keeping the same palettes to create a combination, a continuation between them. But yeah, I had to develop a lot of different things, like using patterns, using masks, using filters, using CSS filters for color transformation, and as I said, there was no floats, there was no there was a lot of different limits on using Solidity and AVM, and but we are really happy with the different results. For me, I think for Clement really likes grids as well. For me, it was more like I was really into the arcs, but I finished Standstills yesterday evening, and I really love the results.
Yeah.
Yeah, the stencil is it's very, very cool. And I wanted to ask a question for both of you. Obviously the art is beautiful, and we could go on about that. But you're doing something very different from almost like a collector standpoint, both in trying this mechanic where you have a time period where you can kind of pick what you like, but also the evolution of one collection into another, how you can trade one in for another. I'm curious how did you come up with this, and what is your hope that these types of mechanics can do for the collectors and the lovers of your art?
Yeah, so first we started shapes almost mainly as an upgrade to slashes, because when we released slashes, we had a little mistake in the smart contract that is making our titles wrongly parsed by the smart contract, and we are using a small function that is converting a uint to a string, but we hadn't tested it really roughly. And when we are using a number like 124, we will just have 111 as the number of the token in our title. So if you are looking at the slashes collection, you will see that every token has a title, as a number, which is 1 time, 2 times, or 3 times the same number. And this was really bugging us and bothering us, and we wanted to do something so that people can have a new token to play with, but we didn't want just to we are just migrating we are just creating a new contract to migrate the tokens and have exactly the same token with just your metadata that are fixed. So we tried to develop something that was meaningful, interesting for using the blockchain as a medium, and that's how we started working on shapes and the different dynamics. At some time, we had thought of a way to lock a token, like you could just generate as many times as you want, and then you could lock your token, and your token could not be changed anymore. But we decided at the end to give a final time to lock the whole collection. And so the shapes is also called shapes 2048, because it has a maximum token. It could have a maximum of 2048 tokens, which are divided between 1024 slashes that could be upgraded to shapes, plus 1024 new mint, which is creating the 2048 limit of the tokens, which are then divided between the different generators, which would make 512 for each if the distribution was uniform. But we'll see what the
Got it.
what the owner will do, as well as many slashes holders are upgrading the tokens. It means that there are less and less slashes, so maybe people will want to keep them. For sure, Clement and I will keep our first slashes, and so the 2048 limits will not be met at the end. But this is a possibility.
One point that I mean, for collectors out there, I always like to create a price point reference, but I mean, your guys' mints are 0.25 ETH right now, correct?
Yeah.
Which is very reasonable, and for comparison, I think the floor on Horo right now is about 1.5. So, an amazing value, especially when you get to control it. It's something for consideration. It's absolutely a beautiful project. The more and more outputs you start to dig into. So I love the fact that I'll call it the DNA, the commonality amongst the palettes for projects. It definitely resonates, and yet it has a different appearance to me. So I think it's very well executed. Great job, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. We really put a lot of work into it, and are really happy to finally share it with everyone.
Yeah, we are really thankful for you to make this. I mean, I'm like, I gotta go get a stencil one now. I need to go get my path to that. But yeah, we wanted to open up open it up to the audience if anyone has any questions. I certainly have some, and I know Matto was kind enough to join us, and I think he maybe even had some questions himself. So I'll invite Matto to speak if you're still able to. Please go ahead and accept. And if anybody wants to raise their hand or request to speak, please feel free. We got some artists here, so if you have any questions you've been wanting to ask artists or questions you have about shapes, yeah, we'd love to hear them. I'll give folks we'll give it like 15 seconds of awkward silence to see if somebody wants to come up.
While we're waiting, are you able to mint a token all the way up until the day it closes off, or when you hit that 2048 max, it's everybody's out of luck?
I'm not sure about the question. I think that you were talking about the final date. You mean after the 31st of January? The collection will be froze, which means there won't be any new token. So you won't be able to mint after that date.
Was I understanding it correctly that the maximum allowed is 2048 pieces?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there are 1024 new mints, no more, and the other are only from the upgrade from slashes tokens.
Correct. So for the new mints, if they sell out prior to the close date, then you'll have to go to the secondary, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. With that, I'll go on mute for a little bit so someone else can speak.
Yeah, and Matto, if you have any questions, go ahead, and we'll go with Ron next, who came up.
Sure. Well, I don't really have any questions.
Hey guys, huge fan, especially from the technical aspects. I had a couple questions.
Like one of the reasons why I really dig this project, and that is the user interaction. The on-chain SVG. It's an impressive, and very challenging to do what they did here, and the outputs are amazing. I can't wait to explore them. But what I'm really excited about space. So first,
Oh, Matt, it's cutting in and out a tiny bit. We heard you say you're really excited about, and then it cut out.
oh, I'm sorry. I'm excited about the projects. The prior collectors and new collectors. It allows the people that have slashes, the first version, to explore, upgrade their tokens with this new art. And also it allows collectors to really interact with the project and play with the tokens. I love how when you look at a token that has been changed a few times, so they've been re-rendered with the different renderers, you can actually go back and see the prior versions. And this is just an example of artists that want to do more for their project than just create the end result. It's encouraging sort of a collaboration and an exploration. And that's why I really dig the project.
Yeah, sure. Well, this is exactly something that we had missed to mention, is that when you are clicking on any token, you can see the generation. So, and you can just click on a previous generation to see its previous states.
Yeah,
and really
it's super cool.
Thank you.
This is fantastic, and thank you for saying that, Matto. I mean, first of all, I just want to point out that part of the reason this community and space is amazing is how supportive everyone is, and I see the artists really supporting each other a lot. And I know you meant everything you said, and I completely agree with the way that this project is interacting with the collectors and really making them more part of the art. Gazers has some of the Gazers have a reflect trait that allows them to go back and revert to old versions, which is somewhat similar. And we talked about QQL, but what I love about this, honestly, is this is just a much lower price point. I think the vast majority of people just couldn't afford QQL, and obviously this is a very different project, different aesthetic, but using that kind of mechanic that really allows the collector to be a part of it, I think is fantastic. And I honestly think this is more where the space will be going, because it's just more interactive and engaging, and I think breathe community better. I'm going to start a stencil club for everybody who gets a stencil, for example. But yeah, Ron. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying joining the club right now. Well.
Yeah. Let's do it. I'm sorry, Ron. You've been patient. Please go ahead.
Yeah. I just want to say I really respect what those guys did after the slashes dropped. There was some flippers who had some FUD, and I'm really glad that you guys continued to work on this project and build it out. I had a couple questions. One, do you think it may make more sense and be cheaper just to buy a slash than upgrade to shapes, just the way the floor price is now? Two, do you think, is there a limit on the slashes upgrade to shapes? Is that also end in January? And three, since they're burning slashes to upgrade to shapes, it will decrease the supply, and maybe it'll bump up the value. Do you think that will have any effect on the value? But again, just really appreciate what you guys did to keep building for us, and really, really happy with how the outputs look so far. Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
thanks, Ron.
Thanks a lot, Ron, and really appreciate to have you there, because you have been a long-time supporter of slashes, and really, really happy to have you there for shapes as well. So there was three things. So maybe.
Yeah, I think one thing you mentioned was like the decrease of slashes supply, and the fact that the more people can just buy a slash, which is cheaper than mint right now, from secondary, and just swap it. I think that was part of the idea as well.
Yeah.
It's just like this, like too much tokens, right? So I mean, the idea of curation is part of the curation, the general curation. That's why Lionel mentioned the project is named Shapes 2048, because there's like half of that number is actually the slashes, and the rest of the number are the new shapes. Because the idea was like it would be the overall. the overall project, including the version 1 of Slashes. And I think it's part of the creation that, if people don't like this, they find the slashes that are existing are not like worth it or something, or they prefer to have a shape, then we just burn it. Mm-hmm. So it's a form of creation for me. And also, of course, in terms of prices, that was also a way, to bring back, because as Rod mentioned, when we released, so the sales were really fast, and then after they were like, flippers and all, and I think we had some, issues with royalties and stuff. It was a mess, and so the price also like sort of collapsed, and we were like sorry for all this, because the origin of Flashes, if I may, it was just a really some very small projects we did with Lionel, because we have been doing projects together for like a decade, maybe more than a decade, and then we just cut it like that, released, and then boom, and we didn't expect that, so we weren't really prepared. And then this time, the upgrade was also, I think it's in terms of price and curation, it goes together. It's just like we hope that the whole thing and the whole work just improve all together. Either the quality of the artwork or the quality for the collectors, or even for ourselves as well. Because it wasn't so easy to have a I don't know, was a mental process as well. Tons of people buying, and then kind of hate coming toward us, and trying to understand what's happening. And so we kept working on it and improving, and thanks for like supporting. That's the idea, right? And
yes, people can just buy a floor Slashes right now, which is kind of low. The mean price for Slashes was 0.2 in last January when we released Slashes, and we made shapes mean price at 0.25, because we wanted for people who were not happy with Slashes to be able to leave the project and get their money back. They can just sell their Slashes at 0.2 and get their money back and just leave the project, for new people to just upgrade them and come to Shapes and have a new experiment and explore this new project. Also, there was a second question, which was the limit of the 31st January. Yes, Slashes upgrade won't be permitted. Will be blocked after this date limit as well. And as you mentioned regarding the price, I can't tell. Nobody can tell, but yes, the Slashes token will be rarer. Right now, there are like 2,000 tokens, 2,000 Slashes that have been burned to upgrade to Shapes. So if you are
200,
200, and so if you really like your Slashes as they are, I just keep them as they are. But I can't tell anymore.
Thank you guys. Really appreciate the response, and really respect you guys for keeping your word and continuing to build on the project.
Yeah, thank you. That's the way of working. We just wanted to have something that everyone is happy with.
Yeah, I think this is really cool on multiple levels. Really appreciate you guys persevering when the fans in the space were not so kind to you as we can be the case. And I'm really excited for this. I think I really enjoy this concept of how you're sort of folding one collection into another. It's really interesting, I think, because it's not seen so much in the traditional art world. And it might be strange to say, you can turn a collection into something else. Some people, I guess, I just like the experimentation with the art and the way we can interact with the art in a different way and make it more collectible. I think it's fascinating and very intriguing. And so I applaud you for that. And another thing I wanted to ask, really also for you, Matto. So you're artist. You've been in the big platforms before. I know with Horo, you were on Art Blocks. How are maybe we can start with you, Lionel, and if you have any thoughts, Matto. How do you think about where to launch your work? And from what I can tell, this is your own platform or your own website. You're not even using Manifold. But yeah, I wonder if you have any thoughts on that and how you think about it.
The question was for me? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry. I thought it was for Matto at some point. Sorry. I experimented with many different platforms. But the idea here is to be able to control the whole thing, to be able to, like you said, the ability for owner of a previous collection to just upgrade to a new one and be part of this new adventure. By developing everything ourselves, we were able to develop some interactions that are maybe more interesting for in our case, I mean. And I still continue to explore different platforms, I think. Maybe get back to previous ones. But I wanted to continue to experiment as an artist with the smart contracts as a medium, as a way to really have a hand on everything, like all the pieces are going to be displayed, how they will be rendered, all people are able to interact with them. So this is either by writing the smart contracts, but also thinking the UI of the website. And all these pieces are only possible if you are doing everything. Which,
And if I may, yeah. And also I think for Lionel and I mean, in the process, it's also about the craft. I mean, it's like when we're doing the stuff and then we get new ideas and we can do this, do that,
mm-hmm.
and then have like extensive knowledge of Solidity and virtual machine, Ethereum, blah blah, and then so we can discuss that. And he told me yes, and I think even the upgrade of slashes came because we found a way to have more polygons, more to generate more, to store more longer strings of text, so we can have more polygons in our SVG. So we're like, oh wow, so that's a new realm of like we should do a new SVG, and then with a 1, 2, 3, 4, then that will be 4 collections, and then how to store the seeds and generate the things. So I'm like using a platform, it will allow you to do certain things, but then if you really want to. It's both a question of control, of course, because you want to keep the thing, know exactly what it does, but also, in terms of exploration, even today we can also, we're still able to like change even the website, the aspect, anything that we need. So I have to say it's also more work, of course, but like, I say we sort of enjoy it, so that's why we do it. As well.
Exactly. Like any of those generators could have been separated and released on a platform, but the main thing about this project is really about the exploration of those generators and then the curation by the owners, and the participation and the dynamics that it's creating.
Yeah, and as a just more technical note maybe, but because the display of the image and the whole contract of any NFT contract, the display of the image is just one function, one small function, and the contract can have many functions, and so that's why here, if you look at the contract itself. There's like change token and revert token, and and you can just swap slashes is a function, is the name of a function in the contract too, and you can just add many ways to manipulate your tokens. And I think if you think about NFT or any art or digital art, it's like you can add sort of features that make sense in the context of your art. So that's why it was interesting we needed a custom platform to do that, and we wanted one just to have fun. So that's the thing. Right?
Got it. So so if you're on Art Blocks, you have to use the Art Blocks smart contract, and that wasn't able to do the things that you wanted to do, and to get that collector experience that you wanted to express.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the whole part of the creation to be able to regenerate your token and then be able to revert to a previous one while keeping your same unique token was really something specific. We had many other ideas, but we made the limit of the contract size, and that to
we deleted a bunch of features. There were more features before, much more. But yeah, and also the idea is, platforms, they will maximize or optimize for certain things, and that's normal because that's their business. But here was more like, maximize for exploration and also for people to be able to use. Because even swapping an existing token or, even regenerating a token without paying the full mint price is something that for a platform may not be, if they take a share, they will not be interested in having this kind of feature. Except, so for us was more like, okay, it wasn't an economical or business consideration. It was more like on the creative side. Yeah, let's do that and allow people to pick what they like. And if they have a slash they don't like, they can just change, or they can just and just change until they are satisfied with the work. And then would they just it would just settle, and then that's done. That's satisfying. Yeah, and that's nice. That's a good feeling for us and for the collectors or the owners.
Like I said, for everyone to be happy. I think that we haven't mentioned that to regenerate, there is a fee that is about 0.01 Ethereum, but to revert to a previous seed, this just costs the gas. Because this is a seed that you have already discovered. This is yours. You can just revert to it. It just costs the gas. So that, the idea is really to have everyone happy with their token.
Yeah, maybe was the process of that piece actually. I mean, that's how it came along. But very much.
I think one of the things that comes to mind for me is it sounds like you guys took a very thorough approach to the considerations for existing holders. What would be your hope for new entrants to the space and or onboarding new people via the 0.25 mint? What is the global thoughts there?
Clement?
Oh yeah. Well, I think the main thing is also. I mean, the mint is like the default way to get a token. So like, of course, we just open to mint because that's what makes more sense. I mean, for people to just access it. And in our mind, I thought the owner of the previous tokens, the Slashies owner. We're an important community where we address this project, but at the same time, it's open to other people, and then people that can just come across the project and they won't even know about Slashes. So it should be straightforward to be able to participate. That's the main. I think that's the main way we thought about it, and then even in terms of releasing and stuff, we had different ideas, but I think that's one thing I can say, maybe one limitation for me as a project is a bit because we're used to simple project where there's a mint button and you mint, then the project appears to be complicated actually because there's several things you can do with it, and it's hard to make it simple. So we had to keep the fundamentals of any projects to be there, because if it's only about new features that people are not familiar with. They will just not understand. So we actually try to make even the website and the user interface as simple as possible, so people can grasp what it is, like what sort of there's still a bunch of text there, because we had to explain. We try to limit it, but it's because these things are new. I mean, I don't, at least for me, it's so we kept the event open for people to participate easily, and also to have the basics of of the past project we did and the similar projects that exist.
Yeah, as Mint is a simple way also to access to a token that is kind of fun to experiment with. I mean, by regenerating, creating the token, and being able to choose its final form.
No, I just wanted to say you guys did the variety amongst the 4 different categories is really dynamic. You can tell you guys put a ton of effort into the design, but I love like I said earlier, the consistent DNA of the palettes. But there's also enough variance in there that I feel like you can capture the attention of not only new collectors but existing collectors who want to support, I'll call it the exploration of new aesthetics. So are there any new palettes or anything that maybe people who are collectors who are familiar with you haven't seen before outside of the new layouts? Is there anything else hiding in there that maybe we would all be dying to hear about?
Yeah, maybe in the features, I think, for slashes, we reused the same palettes as for slashes. So there are already 47 palettes, different palettes of, I think, 47 palettes of 8 colors each. By 8 colors, I think there are 6 colors for each palette, plus a white and a black one to make sure there are enough contrast in each palette. And then I am adding another palette to make sure there is also a palette that will cut, makes the visual pop. And then for this new series, for the shapes, I've been using a lot of different CSS filters, like to invert the colors or to use a sepia tone to add more contrast, like to saturate the colors on different on some specific tokens. Also, I used a lot of different blend modes. Like on stencils, you can see the colors are very different from the others because of the blend modes. So yes, there is a lot to explore in the generators. Every generators have a set of specific features as well that will determine how the visual will appear. And yes, there is really a lot to explore, and I'm waiting to discover them with the participants.
And just one thing I can add is because we're using all these like SVG advanced feature, the Safari rendering is pretty bad, even on phones and stuff. So it's just technical not, but it actually matters. We actually beat our head quite hard on that question. And I'm just looking at the stencils, and I think on Safari, they're totally no, not good.
Yeah.
The SVG. So we will generate a proper flattened image, these PNGs and stuff. But so far, just to say,
saying. And since we are in this kind of details, OpenSea as well is not really made for dynamic tokens. So if you are regenerating your token via our website, you can just go to your token on OpenSea and hit the refresh metadata button to get the new visuals and the new features of your token. I think this is something that is important for others to see the token as it is, or for anyone that is going to the shapes collection on OpenSea. When you are looking at a token, you can just hit refresh metadata to see the current version of the token. But as I said, if anyone is buying a token that has not been updated on OpenSea and they are buying it, they can just go to the Shapes website and just hit revert to a previous seed to get their token as they thought it was. And they are just paying the gas for it, which is really low.
Yeah, fantastic. I love how much detail you have thought into really every element of this, and I think the collectors will really appreciate that as well. So I wanted to see, does anyone else have any other questions? Okay, well, we can we can probably start to wrap it up here. Is there anything else that you wanted to share, Lionel or Clement? And then if not, I have one last question for you, and we'll give the folks listening a chance to see if they want to ask you anything else as well. But yeah, any parting thoughts?
Well, I'm really happy to be here and to share the release of this project. And as I said, the goal is just to have people that are happy with a project and which is playful and interesting to discover things and to get into the generators and be a part of the generative art process and the creation of the whole collection.
Yeah, fantastic. And I really, we appreciate you coming to us and allowing us to share this with you. We're really excited about the project. Love what you're doing here. And I think you're just innovating here, and we'll continue to see how people experiment and follow in your footsteps.
Thank you.
Yeah, huge fan of your work. Thank you for coming up and being so generous with your time.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks.
All right. Well, we'll tweet this out. This will be recorded. We'll publish it on the podcast as well, and we'll let people know there's about 60 days left.
Yeah.
So, the clock is ticking.
Great. Thanks.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. We appreciate you all. We'll be doing other spaces next week. We'll have our weekly episodes, all the same good stuff. And feel free to reach out to us anytime about anything, details about this, something you're considering buying, whatever, something we could do better. We especially want to hear about that. So thanks again, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you for tuning into Collector's Corner. We really appreciate you taking the time to listen. If you like this episode and want to help us out, please subscribe and leave us a review on your podcasting platform of choice, like Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and follow us on YouTube. Please also follow us on Twitter for announcements as we expand to other social and content platforms. Our Twitter handle is @collectors_XYZ. We'd also love to hear any feedback you have, so please comment or reach out. We're always striving to be more useful and get better so we can help you in your collecting journey. The Collector's Corner team and their guests are not registered investment advisors. All views expressed on this podcast are personal opinions and are not specific inducements to make particular investments or investment strategies and should not be relied upon for investment decisions. This show is solely for informational and entertainment purposes only. Before making any financial decisions, please consult a professional.